Sometimes life becomes very confusing when using certain terms like, I need to get to know myself. Let me explain what I mean. Every single one of us from age 1 to 8, or from age 0 to age 7, are influenced by our parents, or by our guardians, or by our, babysitter, or our relatives, those who we've spent most of our hours around. And so ourselves have been massaged into a manifestation from these various entities, or these various persons. And as we grow older, we may like some of the influences, or we may dislike some of the influences, or we may be attracted to a certain kind of manifestation, whether it be in our mother, our father, our uncle, our aunt, our cousin, older cousin, or even a cousin our own age. And so as we become adults, not to mention the religious influences that we have, whether it's Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and all the other religions that are around. Then we become adults, and we find ourselves realizing that we're not satisfied with who we are. We're not, especially when it comes to religion sometimes. But it doesn't have to be religion. It could be certain foods that we were given, or just the way we carried ourselves, or things that we felt were good, and then we found out they were not so good. So the question is, what is a self? Who are you and who am I? What does our self comprise of? Ourselves come from the influences around us. Now, truth of the matter is, if we are going to be true to ourselves, then there has to be a general consensus as to what is right, what is wrong, or what is amoral, what is immoral, and what is moral. So the question is, who determines, or better yet, what determines us finding ourselves? Finding ourselves is not void of the influence of others. Finding ourselves, it is a conglomeration of every single person, or a lot of people that we grew up around, not to mention the social construct from which we have emerged as adults. So, in my particular case, for the first 7 years of my life, or for the first 8.5 years, I should say, I was in England. Then I went to Jamaica. And so in Jamaica, I was there until I was a teenager and about 15. Then I went back to England. And then I was around about 17 and a half, I went back to Jamaica. And then at age 23, I got married from Jamaica. Then I came to Canada. So what does that make me as a single individual? It makes me a person who has been influenced by English customs, Jamaican customs, then Canadian customs. Now, granted, I've lived most of my life in Canada. However, I have a lot of Jamaican grassroots feelings. I have a lot of respect and love for the Rastafarians. I myself consider myself a sort of a Rastafarian in many ways of the way I think. I'm not an ital eating person, or I don't eat pork, by the way, but I'm not an ital eating person. But why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this to say this. Who are we as individuals to judge the manifestation of another individual who has had their own sphere of influence that has produced what they would deem themselves? As long as they are not a sociopath, a murderer, as long as they are manifesting in the way that is a conclusive manifestation of everybody that they've been influenced by, then what's wrong with that? And the issue on hand here is that life can become very fascinating by appreciating every other manifestation of the self. The self. The self with all its nuances. The self with all its creativity. The self with every influence that you have gained from every social construct that you have been exposed to. The truth of the matter is, as we become adults, because I'm soon to be 60 years old at the end of this month, December, when you get to my age, I think you need to start to iron out all the negative influences that have made you into a self that is not the best part of yourself, so that you can become refined and become a better person to make others free to be themselves. I hope I'm making some sense here.